Hey, welcome to the show, everybody. We are back, and we're going to be talking a nice little subject that's been really getting a lot of play in the news lately. We are going to be talking about the Great Reset. This was World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab. These are names that you're going to hear a lot about in the show. He's even using the banner. One of his quotes is that you will own nothing and you'll be happy about it. These are the plans where you've heard Brian's mention it on a couple of shows too, the 15-minute city. You've heard these things. These are a lot of the plans. The the big the big thing about it is that it's not a conspiracy theory. It's not a hidden agenda. It's literally in your face. They've said it. They're not afraid of it. They're not ashamed of it. This is really something that is planned. Agenda 2030, the UN. These are all things you can search up right now. You can search these things up, and you'll see that that these things are all being connected. Climate change things. There's a reason why they are saying 2030. There's a lot of talk of approaching the singularity, which they've even lately said is going to be anywhere from possibly 5, maybe 7 years from now. Well, what's the date in 7 years? 2030. There's a lot of these things coming out. It's not really a surprise that these things have joined up. So we will be discussing that. So we sit back. Like I said, this show brought to you by ERT Radio. Go to mixler.com and set up your account there. Follow us as well as Into the Outer Realms. You've got Dimensions of the Supernatural with Maureen. Ron has got several shows that he does, as well as music lineups. So definitely check that out. Go to mixler.com, follow ERT Radio, get that account set up, like us, and just follow and just comment and let him know that you heard it from us. So everybody sit back, get your questions ready. This is going to be a pretty crazy one because, like I said, it's out in the open. This is not a hidden agenda. So sit back. Be right back. That or as soon as I hit the right thing here. Let's do it the right time this time. Welcome to the Three Beards podcast. My name is Craig, along with Austin and Chris.
Passed to a new generation of Americans born in this century.
Let me out.
I'm afraid that is quite
then live to send the innocent to their death? Is this justice and honor in Massachusetts colony?
All right, and Chris
Hi, everybody.
He is out on a date. He's on a date, so we've got our resident Templar, resident Masonic, Freemason, not the other things. He has nothing to do with the triangle, no matter how many times I say it. How are you, sir?
No, I don't know anything about the triangle or anything like that. I'm good. I'm getting ready to go to FLA come August 1st.
About time.
I may stop at Tom's house, for a little, chit chat, maybe some AC talk, and then I'll head back down. Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. So hopefully next show I'll be back in my studio and it'll look a little bit better than this messy kitchen. Other than that, thank you for the shirt wearer. And if you want one of those shirts, PM me, Brian M. Bowden, on Facebook, and they're $27. That includes shipping and handling.
to live up to the nickname that I put, for myself anyway, I'm gonna, it's based off the Vitruvian Man from Da Vinci.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so there we go.
And
There's your little random fact of the day.
I have a Dogman one coming out and an Alien one as well. I'm just finishing the touches on it. And actually, if you read the text that's on the T-shirt, it's all about Bigfoot or Sasquatch. I don't know everything, okay, Nana,
By heart,
but I do know you. And much love to you. Look at that. There's the heart.
There you go. So we got welcome
And
everybody.
Harlan, too.
Laura, Harlan,
King.
We've got King. Welcome there. I think it's Jalen or Jaylene, Doris. Hey, welcome to the show. Let me know if I said that right. But we've also got special guests with us. We have Mark Eddy from Nightlight. He every now and then he is loaned to us, courtesy of Barbara DeLong. She lets him out of a cage.
Don't feed him at midnight and don't get him wet, people.
Yeah. He looks at. Yeah, trust me. If you get him wet or you feed him after midnight,
yeah.
You ever seen Gremlins? That's what like right now. You're looking at the Furby look right now. Yeah, this is just waiting to see.
Yeah,
welcome, sir.
Yeah, that may change in a few minutes once we get started in the content of the show.
Oh, nothing goes good with the end of the world like a cookie.
And hey, okay, so I did say it right. And for this person, a long time follower, hey, really appreciate you, checking it out. I hope you do. So just post questions. Yeah, we'll get you on there. And guys, we have a special. We've been on his show, Country Boy. At that point, it was Country Boy Cryptids. Now it's Country Boy Conversations. Chris Deems, he is with us. Welcome to the show, sir.
Welcome, Chris.
Hello,
Chris. How y'all doing?
If he was in Florida, we'd have the applause track, but he's still up in the northern base.
Right.
We can give him a sweet. No.
Yeah, we got the two Floridians on top and the two West Virginians on the bottom.
Right.
Oh, West Virginia Mountain Mama. Take me country road, everybody. Oh, sorry.
Yes. So so we basically, like we talked about at the beginning of the show. Brian shared. It was a show from Glenn Beck where he covered the Great Reset. This is something I've actually known about for a while. This wasn't really a surprise. That video summed it up really nicely. We're going to be talking some terms here tonight, so you might want to write these down. ESG is one of them, and CBDC is another one of the terms that's going to be used a little bit tonight. The ESG is pretty much is your social score, is what they will attribute to corporations, to personnel. And that is, and we'll get into that here after a bit. And then CBDC is your central bank digital currency. And that's the other thing that they really want to get. So those are going to be two terms you're going to hear. So if you just hear us refer to ESG or CBDC, that's what that is about. So
and it's important. You did the ESG first before the CDBC. And I got to tell you, the central bank digital currency is imperative in order to get to the ESGC.
Yeah, and that's environmental, social, and governance is what that breaks down to. And I know, Ron, it's the same way. It's every time you hear somebody refer to CBDC, it sounds like they're talking about CBD oil. And everybody's thinking, the first thing a lot of people think about is like, we're getting high. It's like, what about pot? Yeah, it's cryptocurrency is, Ron, to your thing right there too. Cryptocurrency is going to actually, if they go with the CBDC, cryptocurrency goes away overnight.
It's gone. Because that's the principle behind a cryptocurrency, and I still regret it, but I had an opportunity to get in on 1-to-1 ratio with the big cryptocurrency, and I did not. Bitcoin, because it just didn't make sense to me. It was like, so I give them money and then it's magic money and it doesn't really exist, but it just didn't make sense for me. But point of cryptocurrency is to keep it, personal or private. They don't know what you have and who you are and what you are. And that's what the advantage of cryptocurrency is. But I didn't mean to interrupt you, Craig, but with the
No.
central bank digital currency,
It'll cost you later.
it's not physical currency, it's virtual currency, and there is no anonymity associated with it. Am I close?
Yeah, yeah. Well, exactly. That's just it. I'm going to share a couple of things here just as I go. This is like a little setup for everybody to. So for those of you listening, I'll explain it. These are circle charts. I'm actually probability statistics. I actually really love. So when it comes to like charts and graphs and stuff like that, I'm kind of a nerd. It's like Ross Perot. I want you to take a look at this pie chart right here. This is where
You're just like Kamala and you love the Venn diagrams.
Venn diagrams are the best, and that's what this is.
Except the fact that I actually understand them.
Well,
and I know what they're about.
Yeah.
That's enough of that political side there, sir. Yeah. So what you can see right here, this is your ESG score. What they do, and I'll bring up another thing talking about what they consider each one of these. This is where your environmental impact, your social impact, and your governance impact, where these all coincide. You can see that triangle where it triangulates right there in the thing. That is, you can see this is your that is your ESG. That's where your score is. So what they do, if you actually would be given a grade, instead of these nice pictures, there would be like data points, and your thing would be somewhere around, where you were high, low, so, on where you fit on that chart. And that's what would determine your ESG. Well, what this does in the Great Reset, this is one of the modes that they determine what you can do. This is like your fifth element. This is your multi-pass.
Lilo Dallas multi-pass.
Yeah, so this is your multi-pass. When you're going to get your ESG score, and that's what's going to determine. I mean, people have seen. I think it's that's Justin Timberlake movie. I can't, where they have the timestamp on their arm, where the digital time is put in there. You have Hunger Games. You have all these different ones where everybody is compartmentalized into zones. Everybody is put in these zones. China does it right now.
Yeah, I mean, like, why are we talking about movies? This is what takes place in China right now.
Yeah, that's this perfect thing, because when you look at these movies, when you see, I'll see if I can find the picture to put up here too for people to see. When you see this picture, it looks straight out of movies like Hunger Games. That I can't remember the name of the movie, but it's the same one where you can't cross this border because you don't have the qualifications to move into this next zone.
15-minute city.
Yeah, and that's what it would be. And so when you see these pictures, like if I can find one, but I'll put it up here. That's when you see it, and that's where the Great Reset. That's what they want, and it's basically, and it's like when we talked about the 15-minute cities. I think it was a couple episodes ago. Like I told people, this is the danger of it, because it's everything that is done. It's always wrapped in the veil of things that are, the benefits. Because here's a 15-minute city. You have everything you need within 15 minutes of you. Yep. Food, leisure, things. So when you think about it on face value, who would have a problem with the food I need, the entertainment I need, all this stuff is within 15 minutes of me. This sounds great. I mean, I don't know anybody that would just off what I just said wouldn't raise their hand and say, that sounds fantastic. I mean, who wants to drive 45 minutes to go get groceries? Nobody. But when you start breaking it down into what is the cost for this, freedom from these burdens, you realize that there's actually, it litters the term, devil's in the details.
Yeah, I mean, they're taking everything. Like, they'll tell us what to eat, what to wear, where you can go.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
It's a scary thought to even think about.
Let me give you an example of something that's very important to consider in relationship to the Venn diagram and what you were talking about with 15-minute cities. So growing up in New York City, we had a milk shortage in New York, and milk went crazy and it was really expensive. So we had to travel into Connecticut to acquire milk, which is more than 15 minutes away, because that's what you do. You have to go to wherever the source is for things and you take care of it that way. 15-minute cities in relationship to the United States of America and the founding documents and the freedom will not work here. I mean, yeah, you have a lot of people that will, hey, this is great. I mean, they build 15 minutes. They've been doing that in the New York metropolitan area for a while. They'll build this huge housing complex that has like a mall within it and the grocery store and a florist and everything you need there. But you're paying higher prices because they have to pay rent and it's out of control.
Yep.
What this 15-minute city is going to do is totally restrict your freedom. There's no freedom involved in it. Everything we just discussed takes away all your rights. It 100% takes away all your constitutional rights.
Yeah, and then, like Laura just said, well, we need a passport. No, there's no passports. If you don't qualify to move from location, that's where you are. That's your zone.
Yep.
And so that's how this thing works, is that and that's where I said it's veiled into, like I use the line, you will own nothing and be happy about it. Their plan for it is through the UN agendas, through this great reset, is that basically picture, we're going to talk about, I don't know that they've ever really said like the size of your domicile, but let's just say for easy math, it's 1,000 square feet. You're going to have everything you need, but you won't own anything in it. You'll be given what you need.
Not even
only
clothing.
What you need. Yeah, even clothing. They'll give
Not even clothing.
Yeah, they'll give you the clothes that you need. They'll give you the furniture that you need. They'll give you the stuff, but not the furniture that you want. Not the stuff that you want. It'll be the stuff that you need. And that's
They even said even your appliances, you only get what they give you. There's no going out and buying this refrigerator or this.
Yeah, it's it won't be. I don't think it's going to be like gruel and porridge and stuff like that's all you get for food. I mean, eventually it could become,
It'll be artificially
these
grown,
cubes,
beef, or some kind of beef or chicken or protein, and then they're not kidding around about the bug eating. By the way, some companies are actually putting in bugs. They've been putting it in for a while prior to this. Maybe getting people used to it. But a great example of your daughter had a baby and your daughter lives in another state. Well, as a grandparent, you want to go see the baby. Well, so you leave your 15-minute city to see your grandchild, right? On a Monday, you stay there for a couple of days, whatever, you go back, and then you want to come back again next week. Well, they very well will tell you, well, you've already seen your grandchild. We don't need you to go back there again. Your environmental score is terrible because you're wasting resources and the gas, and it's terrible for the environment. Don't you consider anybody else before you go? And that's how they'll stop you from going to see your grandchildren or your parents, or don't even think about traveling any place in this world because they're shutting airports down. The UK is taking all their airports. They're on track for it, right? For only 2 airports.
So, yeah, Heathrow, and I think, what's the other one? But yeah, it was sidetracked us.
Sorry,
but that's no. I would say no. It'll sidetrack us if I start trying to figure out the airports. Yeah, that's one of those things. Then here, let me do this here. So real quick, while I got that picture up there, I'll just go through those. Your ESG score is based off environmental, which is your waste and pollution, resource depletion, what Brian just said. How many resources are you going through? Your gas emissions, deforestation, climate change. So how you impact on those determines your environmental score. Then your social is, and this isn't just your personal, this is like your business. So like, if you run your business, your employee relations and the diversity of those employees, working conditions, local communities, health and safety, and conflict resolutions. And then your governance score is your tax strategy. How are you in paying your taxes, your fair share, executive I think remuneration. That one's a tough one.
Yes.
Donations and political lobbying, corruption and bribery, board diversity and structure. So these are all things that, like this list is kind of really specifically targeting a business so much in the way that they've divided this up. But that's the thing, is they've rolled out some, like, their targets. The main thing about, like, the 15-minute city is it's not that you're locked into this permanently. It's just that the only way you can get out is if you play ball. If you are a good little citizen. If you rock the boat, if you do anything like this, your score is too low, you can't go out. So you got to work on your score. So you got to go out and, feed the squirrels, walk people over, get more likes on your posts, do stuff so that way you can bump yourself up and not be, anybody that says, like, I'm fighting against you, I refuse to do this. Well, guess what? You are not going anywhere. You'll probably be taken to a re-education center.
Right.
To be shown the proper way to be a good citizen.
Well, just the sheer fact we're doing this podcast would have taken our ESG score and made it 0.
Drop. Yeah.
Here's another thing that you have to consider. So there's a heavy push by the individuals involved to switch to electric everything. So there's no more gas, no more coal, no more resources like that. So everybody's like going to these electronic cars. First of all, it takes you hours upon hours to recharge your vehicle. The vehicle only goes so much on a distance, depending on what's in the car, as always. And then you have to recharge again. So let's say you had to go to New York to Florida. I have to do that. Okay. Normally it's 18, 19 hours. Well, every 400 miles or so, if you're lucky, you have to sit there for anywhere from 2 to 7 hours to charge your car. But it gets better than that. Okay, great. You're driving around and you're trying to be the good person and you're in the 15-minute cities. If you did anything really stupid, they'll shut your car off. Anybody has a Tesla right now? There's a kill switch. Be careful what you're buying. You're not buying, oh, it's so cool. It's no, they can shut your car off and totally shut it down so you have no access to that vehicle. And the person that has control of that is Elon Musk, by the way. But this is built into every electronic vehicle that's out there. So,
Jaylene, yeah, it is kind of a form of a prison, to the point where, because it's imperative that people are divided. That is one of the biggest things between what we've seen in the last few years. The pandemic response is one of the big things. That was a test to see how willing people would be to lock down. And you saw during those 2.5 years, not only did people not fight it, people embraced it. And they also demonized their fellow citizens that didn't embrace it. So you could see right now that at least 80, I'd say it was close, probably even close. I'd say it'd probably be safe to say 80% of the population went along with restrictive measures and didn't put up a fight at all. They fell in line.
Yeah, they joined in.
Yeah, and that's how you can see that, and that's why I said it was done. That was a perfect test to see, and it showed them, okay, people will fall in line, and they will, because you looked at the posts, how many people called out those that didn't either get a shot or wear a mask or do something like this. They were willing to go out, blast them online, publicly out shame, anybody that didn't do what the masses did. And that's exactly what these people in the WEF, WHO, these groups, that's what they want, because I don't have to send, was this the term is, the jackbooted thugs to the door with guns when little Miss Johnson is willing to point out and say, Chris, Brian, Craig, Mark, they didn't do this. Here's what they didn't do. Here's what they're doing. Here they are right now. It's all right there. So they've got your digital footprint, and they've also got somebody on the ground saying, here they are.
Yep.
They don't have to send the stormtroopers.
Yeah,
Right.
and people are reported on 6 people. There's more than 6 people at your house for Jesus's birthday. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Just report. Yeah, you saw that in.
They closed. They did that at people going to worship in churches.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what it is. Going to church was
especially
a danger.
But the liquor store can remain open. But
Yes.
don't you do none of that Jesus stuff.
Because you got to get the Holy Spirit in you.
They didn't shut the border. They
have a purple Jesus from the liquor.
Praise the Lord, Mark. No, Mark. I mean, Chris. I
take the purple Jesus and a buttery nipple, please. Oh yeah.
They're right. The border wasn't closed. No border was closed. People were coming, going. They were letting people in all the time. But it's here's the thing about it, and I've said this from the beginning, and I'm not going to go into when we look back on this. And hopefully we get a chance to do this, and we're still free and united. We're going to see this as an IQ test, and 80%, if not 90%, failed that IQ test. Okay, and why is that? I think personally, and I'll make it quick. People are too quick to get their 30-second spit of information from YouTube or the MSM, mainstream media, and let me tell you, when these people operate, they're employing all these different organizations, and they're hoping you say, well, the government wouldn't do that to us. Yeah, the government would do that to you.
oh yeah.
You can just look at what Trudeau did to the truckers that were protesting in Ottawa. And hey, shut off their PayPal accounts. You can't get the gas to keep running your truck.
There are banks in the U.S. right now that have been doing that. There was a bank that sounds like Hayes, but begins with a C, and just did it recently to an organization, and didn't let them know they were doing it. They made some kind of statement that you weren't doing right or something along the lines of the ESG, and they shut them down. They closed all their accounts, and there's nothing they can do with it. Nothing. It's very illegal.
Oh yeah.
There's a president. I'm not a huge fan of him, but there's a president named Ronald Reagan, and he did a huge speech about we the people. They work for us. We are the bosses, not the government. That's how this government was set up. And people have forgotten it because of lack of teaching that in school, lack of reaffirming it, allowing these things to take place. This is going to be a problem for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Ronald Reagan, he was okay, but he was a union buster. If it wasn't for him breaking the airline union, I think things would be a little bit better, because then it led on to the coal mines and down and down and down.
Everybody's
Julian, that's correct.
A lot of they are actors. The majority of 99.999% of them always are doing something not just for themselves, but they're for their donators. Okay, and there was a famous saying by a former president who told everybody right there in public during a debate, they're bought and paid for. I know. I've bought them. That speaks huge volumes about who these individuals in our government are working for. You know, so well, my ESG score is totally negative now.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, here, it's, like here, hopefully everybody can.
I read a, oh,
Yeah, here I'm gonna.
I read a.
The current issues on our agenda, we tend to forget that we are in the midst of the fourth industrial revolution, which acts.
So, you heard him right there. The fourth industrial revolution. So that's one for most people that I talked about that Glenn Beck thing. He actually puts on a chalkboard and he shows like the industrial revolutions. What this is, and this is where I talked in the beginning about the singularity. We are approaching this thing with AI and with technology. This is going to be that fourth industrial revolution where this is the part you've heard in anybody in the chat that that's watching stuff too. Tell me if you guys have heard this term, mincome. And for anybody, for anybody that hasn't, mincome is the minimum income where you're basically paid to exist. And does anybody know the nice little poem called "The Gods of the Copybook Heading"? Does anybody have that committed to memory?
No, I don't.
That is one I would recommend that for people too. That is. I'm going to bring that up here too, because I'm going to be referring to that a few times here. But in that one, paraphrasing it, there are going to be ones where when men are paid simply for existing, and that's when in Rudyard Kipling came up with this, and basically what this is the breakdown of society. How this thing, how it goes. The gods of the copybook headings will return, and one of those things is when we basically start getting to the point where people are just paid to be lazy, to do nothing. Nobody, and that's what one of the dangers of AI, the fourth industrial revolution, is. They've already said right off the bat, millions of individuals worldwide will no longer have ESG scores.
I'm keep posting ESG scores for all of us.
Just keep doing it. Well, it's probably right. I mean, because Chris and Mark are being smart by not saying much.
Yeah,
they're keeping their social media score up high, so that's a good thing.
Now we know who's getting us bread later.
Yeah.
I was the wife was telling me something she read today that I don't know if you guys have Kroger's down in like a grocery store.
We have a delivery service.
She said they're talking about going completely no one at registers. It'll be like Walmart, self-checkout only.
Well, that's part, because like I said, I've had a lot of people that are, they're adamantly opposed to self-checkout. I'm actually the other way. I embrace it because I don't like to wait in the lines. So I just get out of there. A lot of that was deemed from the artificial inflation of wages. Corporations aren't going to assume that's why everything, McDonald's, Taco Bell, Wendy's, you go across the board. That's why they have those the apps and the kiosks when you go in there to check out, to place your order, is because it's cheaper to put this technology in. I think it was McDonald's that rolled out the first.
Yep.
I think there's 2 or 3 employees for the restaurant. Everything else is automated.
In Florida, down in the West Palm, Palm Beach County. I walked in. I was like, I didn't want to wait on the damn line for the drive-through, so I walked in, and there's 3 people. Just 3 people in a McDonald's. I've never seen a McDonald's with just 3 people. Wow. And I'm waiting to get a shake, and they go, "Oh no, you have to use the machine." Now,
really?
You had to touch the machine. I was like, "Now they did tests on those machines. They found like 99% of human feces are all over that machine." I'm like, "No, I'm good. Thank you. Keep your shake." But once they get into robotics and AI technology, we're screwed as workers.
They don't need us no more. Yeah.
No, they don't.
Do you guys have Sheets?
Love that place.
if you go in to order your food around here, they got a touch screen thing. You got to, go through and push all everything you want in there. Yeah.
They had it in Gettysburg. I was
I thought
introduced to sheets.
I thought
in
this was like an
Western
income gauge, like whether or not we have sheets on our bed. Do you have
No.
sheets? Yes.
Sheets is it's a gas station.
I know.
And I gotta tell you, the Italian mozzarella burger there,
Their food's good.
mozzarella sticks on it. It's freaking awesome. But
right?
I don't like this whole AI. I don't want to be told what to do. That's an American thing, and I'm not going to be told what to do. So just ask, mention my name. You'll get a good seat at the FEMA camp.
Yeah. Does anybody mind? Like I said, oppose me to reading to you for about 5 minutes?
Only if it's the Penthouse Forum.
Yeah. I just read it for the articles, people. Come on, just the articles. Yeah. So just to let everybody, the Gods of the Copybook Hitting is by Rudyard Kipling. Its basis is it speaks on the malevolent nature of progress and humanity's eventual return to basic principles of a good life. It's kind of the ebb and flow of what happens when it gets out of control. Everything must be in balance. How things, if they get out of control, there is a natural, adjustment. It naturally happens. And the poem begins with a speaker that states that originally humankind was directed by a few, by tenets of common sense and goodness, and how things change over time. And so I'll read this one. It's, as I pass through my incarnations in every age and race, I make my proper prostrations to the gods of the marketplace. Peering through reverent fingers, I watch them flourish and fall as the gods of the copybook headings. I notice I outlast them all. We were living in the trees when they met us. They showed us each in turn that water would certainly wet us as fire would certainly burn. But we found them lacking in uplift, vision, and breadth of mind, so we left them to teach the gorillas while we followed the march of mankind. We moved as the spirit listed. They never altered their pace, being neither cloud nor windborne like the gods of the marketplace. But they always caught up with our progress, and presently word would come that a tribe had been wiped off its ice field, or the lights had gone out in Rome. With the hopes that our world is built on, they were utterly out of touch. They denied that the moon was Stilton. They denied she was even Dutch. They denied that wishes were horses. They denied that a pig had wings. So we worshipped the gods of the market who promised these beautiful things. When the Cambrian measures were forming, they promised perpetual peace. They swore if we gave them our weapons, that the wars of the tribes would cease. But when we disarmed, they sold us and delivered us bound to our foe. And the gods of the copybook heading said, stick to the devil you know. On the first Feminian sandstones, we were promised the fuller life, which stated by loving our neighbor and ended by loving his wife, till our women had no more children, and the men lost reason and faith. And the gods of the copybook heading said, the wages of sin is death. In the Carboniferous epoch, we were promised abundance for all by robbing selected Peter to pay for collective Paul. But though we had plenty of money, there was nothing our money could buy. And the gods of the copybook heading said, if you don't work, you die. Then the gods of the market tumbled, and their smooth-tongued wizards withdrew, and the hearts of the meanest were humbled, and began to believe it was true, that all is not gold that glitters, and two make four. And the gods of the copybook headings limped up to explain it once more. As it will be in the future, it was at the birth of man. There are only four things certain since social progress began. The dog returns to his vomit, and the sow returns to her mire, and the burnt fool's bandaged finger goes wobbling back to the fire. And that after this is accomplished, and the brave new world begins, when all men are paid for existing, and no man must pay for his sins, as surely as water will wet us, and as surely as fire will burn, the gods of the copybook headings with terror and slaughter return.
Join us next week on Method B Theater.
Rudyard Kipling. And it's, like I said, it's quite the thing. And if you guys want, you can go to kiplingsociety.co.uk, and you can probably, like I said, you can see that right there. And they got his poem right there. And that's not something that was written modern times. This is, I can find out when it was actually written, to be honest.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, like, that's really old. It's not nothing. No.
Yeah, that was,
wow.
I think it was published in 1919, 1920.
Wow.
Just before the Great Depression.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that
and the
and it's
initiation of socialized society.
yeah. So that's one of those things I've known that. I've read that one several times. I wish I could commit that to memory. I mean, that's where we get to the AI thing with the income, where people, it's that line where, where we're paid just to exist. That eventually, there will be, it's just like anything. It's just like when people were getting all the checks from the government. I go, if anybody's gone out to the grocery store and gas station and stuff lately, we are paying for those checks right now.
Yep.
This is what was warned back in 20, when you heard those fear-mongering politicians that, even though they were just as guilty as, screaming about this because they don't care when their side spends it, it's when the other side. But even though they said was true, there will be a price to pay, and we're paying that now. That's why it costs. So I think I saw a meme that it was funny, but it's actually true. It's like, as I get older, I must be getting stronger because now I'm able to carry $300 worth of groceries into the house at one time now.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it's true, is because now, I mean, I just went to Walmart here in Florida. I have those reusable grocery bags. I had 4 of those full. The bill was $100.
Yeah.
You're lucky.
For those 4. Yeah, well, that's, and that's the thing, because a lot of it was like, vegetables and other stuff like that. But it's still, you can just see things progressively going up. And people say, well, this is crazy. It's also, you have to remember, Klaus Schwab, these guys, World Economic Forum, this is by design. The things are to get so out of control. You scream for a savior. The savior rushes in. I can make this pain go away. All you need you to do is let me take the burdens off of you. I'm going to put you in this place. I'm going to give you the necessities you need. And now you don't have to worry about this anymore.
Yep.
For the low, low price of your anonymity.
Your freedom.
And what we saw was that like what we just talked about, close to 80% of the population will sign on to that without a problem.
Yeah, I mean, the problem we had after the event was that people were getting paid more money through the government than actually they were making on their weekly check. And so there's a lot more still to this day. People don't want to work. People don't care. There's no care or concern in anything, and it's making things difficult. Ideally, what's been slowly taking place, because I come from a finance economics background, and I did work for the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund, and that group was a joke. In order to build your economy and make a strong economy, you have to invest and have a lot of small business. Okay? Small businesses are what drove this country and will continue to drive this country. And from a small business, you get to employ people, you pay taxes, and it works out well. That's why I always tell people, yeah, you can buy from Amazon, but please go into a mom and pop shop and give them some of your love. Okay?
Jaylene read my notes.
Yeah.
I know here
right.
where I live, the mom and pop shops are going. There is none left. I remember as a kid going right down the street to a little place we call Demas. Is a little Italian place. They had meat, they had bread, they had milk, they had fresh stuff all the time. Now they're going. Everybody, it's all going now.
It doesn't have to be all gone, and if the people, we the people, stand up, their table falls apart because they can't continue to do it. See, if you look at the grand scheme of things of what WEF and Schwab and anybody that associates with them is banking, is that we the people don't wake up and don't say, no, we're not doing this. But what's happened lately is a lot of the people that went along with it are realizing, well, I'm still getting the C, Why am I continuing to take the S? Or
Right.
what the heck's going on? This guy's just as dirty as anybody else, if not dirtier.
Mhm.
And people are waking up and people are saying no more. And here's the big thing here. I'm a proponent of everybody exercising their constitutional rights. All of them.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think if you exercise a couple of specific rights, maybe the second, which guarantees every one of them, they cannot do what they're going to try to do.
Well, you said it right there. That's the key.
Right.
And that's why they target the Second Amendment so heavily all the time, is because
Yep.
people don't understand. Like you'll see on the news, whenever you talk to people, they're like, well, why do you need to have this? Why do we need to have these things? And it's not the fact that, you got some gun collect, that's too easy to get bogged down in this thing. The point is the fact that, potentially everybody in the show, everybody on the show, everybody watching this thing has a gun, has something set aside. We don't have to get, we don't, because we're online, we don't have to say yay or nay. That's not a vote thing here.
Well, that's what the ladies call it, Craig.
Yeah. So what you do is, if you were to give those away, you can't protect anything, because right now, if you can't have somebody walk into your house and tell you can't do this, you can't do this. Why? Because you have the freedom to protect yourself. You are armed, and that's why they can't control the world. The World Economic Forum and these players, they're funneling tons of money into these anti-Second Amendment things, into these programs, because we literally are the pin that's keeping it from falling apart.
Yes.
We are that one link that is keeping it, because once the Second Amendment goes away, that the American population, that you can go through history, Japanese generals, Russian politicians, they've all said we can never directly invade the United States, because there is like the Japanese, they said there is a gun under every blade of grass.
Yep. That's
the thing. They know, because we are the world's largest standing, army, because there's 300. I think the total is like 350 million guns in the U.S. right now.
I think it's actually closer to 6 million, because if you are an owner of a firearm, hold on. If you're an owner of a firearm, I know for a fact that you just don't own just one. There's usually several.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And here's the fun fact. 99.999% of the people that do have them, they really do know how to use them.
Right.
And they've been very restrained through the last couple of years. And let me tell you, they had every right to stand up. Something's very interesting. I went to Gettysburg for the Gettysburg Battlefield Bash, and it's a paranormal convention, 3 days. It raises money for Gold Star families, Wounded Warrior. Okay, but if you go to Gettysburg and you go into the rotunda at the Gettysburg, the National Monument Park area,
mm-hmm.
and you watch the 360 screen, and you have Morgan Freeman doing the voice work for it, and it shows you. I saw this 2 years ago. It shows you on the screen how the Civil War started. It started with Texas. It went down. It went to the right all the way over to Florida. Okay. And then the other states started coming up. In the last couple of years, where did everybody in the states move to? That southern portion of what took place, Civil War. And this time, it's not a war against slavery. It's going to be a war against freedom or oppression. And let me tell you, and I'm just saying this, all the signs are there that it may happen again.
Very true.
Very, very true.
Very true.
Right. Before we get too far here, I wanted to address Shailene's thing about the houses. What are they planning on doing this one? One, you can see in a lot of places here too. Everybody I'm sure, has seen their interest, their payments to their insurance companies go through the roof. Like down here in Florida, most people are seeing anywhere. I think there's been a lot of people that have seen it rise by close to $3,000 to $4,000.
Yep.
their premiums for their home insurance. And it's the same way Brian talked about it earlier with cars, with a home. This is how they do it. It's not, so I mean, we'll use Chris, we'll use you as an example. If I walk up to you and I say, right now, I want your home, I want your car, I want your guns, what are you going to tell me?
I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, it's most likely there's going to probably be a bang, 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 and like I said, and there's not going to be any words. Yeah, so it's not going to happen. But here's what I do. And they tried it during the Obama administration. They tried to classify ammunition as an explosive. That didn't work. But the whole point is, what's the point of having a gun if you can't get ammunition for it? It's a worthless piece of metal. Same way with a car. If it now becomes so expensive to fill it up with fuel, insure it, drive this stuff, it becomes more imperative that you live in a tighter community where you can either walk, bike, or take a public form of transportation that's provided for you. This becomes a thing. Same way with a home. It's now, you might own your home. Like Ron was just saying, he's likely going to pay it off. It's the same thing. So you're going to be in a better, because you're going to be able to afford that premium a little bit better. But now if I raise your insurance rates, I raise the cost of property taxes, I keep raising all these things, you get to the point to where, if you're on a fixed income, you can't afford this thing. So what do? I have to unload this thing. Well, obviously, Chris's house, he's not going to be able to get me or Mark or Brian to buy it because we're all in the same boat. So who comes in? I want everybody to look into this nice little corporation called BlackRock.
BlackRock.
Yeah.
And this is what they do. They go through and they scoop up these vast quantities of new homes, old homes. They buy all this stuff up. So what it does now is I'm from this company and I want to unburden you, Chris, from the stresses that you're having of your life. So what I'm going to do for you is there's this nice community that we're developing over here where you're going to have all this stuff. You're not going to need this vehicle. I'm going to take that stress away from you. There's going to be vehicles that you can borrow and drive around if you need to get around in the city, because it'll be right there. It'll be a community vehicle that can be brought to you. I'm going to have this place where you can live here. You don't have to worry about your house. You go through all these things. And that's what the plan is. Like for Jaylene, when we circle around it, that's what the plan is for the homes. Is the whole point is to make it to where you create a problem and you have the solution in the waiting. And as soon as the problem reaches that point where you start to scream, I bring this amazing solution that's going to make all those problems go away. And like we just said, most people are going to take that. They're going to put their hand out and say, give it to me, make the pain go away.
Here's another fact you got to consider about this whole scenario. So as of the last 20, maybe 30 years, more of the people that are being, going up out of school than living their lives, they don't want to own anything. They just want to rent. And rental properties have skyrocketed.
Yes.
So BlackRock BlackRock will pay you a lot of money for that house. They don't care because they know they're going to make it back, because you're going to be a renter for the rest of your life. And they're going to raise your rent too. Don't think that them buying your house for, let's say, $300,000, you have $300,000 in your pocket. One, if the central digital currency is in effect, you don't even have access to that if they don't want you to. Two, your rental unit, they're going to have to pay for it. Nothing's free. You're giving up your freedom, you're giving up your rights, and you're giving up access to anything. If they say you will own nothing and like it, that means money. You don't have money. The only people that have this are the people that are, in charge, the 1% of the 1%. And they don't care. They're going to be fine. They're going to be living high in the hog while you're in like that cubicle and everybody's wearing a tunic and praying to a head of lettuce. They don't care. So,
Brian, don't you mock my God, sir.
Damn you, iceberg.
What's interesting about these examples is that these solutions sound so wonderful, perfect world. but it's really to enslave you. And you keep seeing this the elites of cultures throughout time just keep repeating the same thing, and mainly with starting with one of the most recent examples is Marxism, with communism, socialism, Nazi program. It's all to take away your freedoms.
100%.
Yeah.
When Castro took over for the revolution, the first people that he took out were all his supporters. Why did he do that? Because they were promised this, but when it went to and became a reality, it wasn't anything like that. And the people that support him would have we didn't support this. So if you get rid of those people, then everybody else has to live in that. Something's very interesting too that people aren't paying attention to about BlackRock. BlackRock just purchased 21andMe.
Yeah,
And
I think it was. I think
or
it was
Ancestry.
Ancestry was. They bought that back. I want to say it was in 2018 or 2019. They bought that one a while ago.
They own all those DNA testing services. Now I'm going to let you in on something. I don't know how many that are listening have done their DNA.
Metadata.
Okay, here's what's going on with it. You go in there, they saw, oh look, I'm half Native American, the other half, Portuguese. Blah 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 blah. Mine happened to come back 100% fucking awesome, but that's a totally different story. So, but here's what they're doing with it. This is where you're going to get
Scottish.
screwed.
No, you're not.
If it's not Scottish, it's crap.
Oh, those are fighting words, sir.
Yeah. So what they're doing
I'll
with
put on my kilts and come down there.
They're selling your information, your DNA, and they're selling it to, get this, insurance companies.
Oh yeah.
So in that DNA, they told you where you're from, but they also know what your medical history is, what you're what you're predisposed for, and the insurance company's getting it. And then when they do their blood work and test, they're taking a DNA test of you, right?
I'm hoping that there's a Craig tree frog hopping around somewhere. I really do.
Well, they're going to map you up, and they're going to say, you know what?
Cross me with the tree frog.
Your insurance was $1,700 a month. We're going to have to raise it up to $3,700 a month because your family's predisposed to cancer, and we know that those costs are going to go up. Everybody thinks these things are innocent. Oh, look, I have a cousin in Pittsburgh. Who cares? Okay? Who cares? If you were meant to meet, you were meant to meet. You don't need to do the DNA testing. We really got to take these companies, and BlackRock, and there's a bunch of Cargill Group is another one. I mean, I work with these companies. It's really, really pure evil what's taking place. And until people start waking up, I'm telling you, you're 30 seconds to midnight, and you're going to look back. I remember when they did that show. Whatever happened to those guys? Oh, they were killed in the FEMA camp. Hi guys, but pay attention.
Right.
It's okay, go ahead, Chris.
I was going to say, it's a scary thought. I mean, it is happening. I mean, there's no getting out. I mean, I know there's things we can do, but it's just scary that it's gotten this far as it has already.
I think they're waiting for one event to take place, something to take place. They've been pushing for a war lately, the people that are in power that are part of this. And they've been filling your minds with what's going on in Europe right now and who the bad guy is and who the good guy is. Well, if they've been lying to you about stuff that took place in the last 3 years, do you really think the people are saying the good guys are the good guys? And do you really think the bad guys are really the bad guys that are telling you they are? I don't think so.
Right.
And the problem with that is once they get the catalyst to say, well, we're at war, so now we're declaring martial law, that's when they're going to allow the UN troops, the blue hats, to come in and take care of the problem. Yep. The current idiot in charge in cocaine mansion signed away. He signed away the sovereignty of the United States by joining the WHO and allowing them to dictate to everybody, on medical issues. So by doing that, and read what the WHO is proposing, that they have the ability to, if no one is being compliant to what they're suggesting, they're going to be able to go in and make sure they force these things on you. And that's where the USA and the second come into play. They cannot do that without.
And that's a perfect segue for CBDC.
Yes, can we go in there?
Yes, because
that's some good shit, man.
You talked. Chris talked a little bit about too about the supporting things. I've seen some memes where and some pictures where they're starting a movement where they're saying buy in cash, quit using cards, quit using this stuff. This is cash, but the problem is, where do you get the cash from? Can't print your own. This comes from the central banks. So when they shut off the printing press, there's no more. And that's the part that people don't understand about the digital currency. I'll kind of get into a little bit of the nerdy stuff real quick here. Brian, jump in if I get something wrong, or anybody in the chat. Basically, the primary thing is currency through the iteration of the Fed and stuff. This is the way that, as everybody knows, this is how you buy goods and services, is with this currency. Well, the problem is there's transactions that cannot be controlled. I decide to buy a T-shirt from Brian. I decide to buy something from Country Book Converse. You go through these things. We can do these transactions that are not tracked. And so the problem with that is you can't get the taxable income. You can't get these things, but it's a control aspect. We can't control these transactions because, as we've seen, like what they did, I want to say it was back in, correct me if I'm wrong, people, I want to say it was 2009, 2010, when the feds cracked down on those organic dairy farmers in Colorado that were selling at the farmers markets, that were selling unpasteurized milk, because they just said, they went under the guise of this isn't safe, this isn't stuff, for these things. But what the problem was is this was an unregulated, they weren't able to regulate this, and they have to come up with things. So now we come into the modern thing with these CBDCs, this central bank digital currency, for people that missed the beginning. What this does now is this overnight kills the farmers markets, the flea markets, these personal transactions, and makes things digital. And so how this runs into the WEF, WHO, the Great Reset is that now, in order to purchase something, you now have to play by the rules. If you don't, the governments can come in and they can shut down your funds, freeze them, and you have no control. People say, well, I'll just hold on to cash. Well, here's the thing. Okay, great. You've got this cash, but eventually, like I'm buying, we'll just say Chris makes these mean biscuits that I want to buy all the time. Well, I'm paying him with the cash under the table. We're doing this black market stuff. Well, they're going to come to a point where Chris is going to need to buy the ingredients to make his biscuits. What's he going to do with this worthless paper? It's great between me and him, but he can't buy the goods from the local store things, because they are only going to accept the official currency, and he can't trade those in because the time period has already passed. There's going to become a point where you have to turn in all currency, and on that midnight hour, it becomes worthless because you didn't turn it in.
This is what they did with they did it with gold and silver at one point.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing, here's an interesting thing. The only thing that would make something work would be precious metals. And I've been saying that for years before. My advice is my own personal advice. It's not legal. It's not financial. Do your due diligence. But I've always told people to buy physical silver and gold. Okay? Even gold chains. Because if the shit hits the fan and the computer's down and you can't swipe a card, you can't get to the ATM, you can still barter for some eggs and milk by clipping your necklace and giving them some real gold. That always will have some value. Okay. And that's why I'm saying, you should definitely have pieces of it. They sell it in tenths, quarters, ounces, kilograms, and don't buy the certificates. It does you no good that you have a piece of paper that says you have it. It's stupid.
Right.
Yeah, remember the term rehypothecation, everybody.
Yeah. So
yeah. Does
here's
Brian
the
want to
thing.
explain that term?
No, I'm not going to go into that right now. That'll be on the final, though.
Yes. I'll do that before the end of the show, people. I'll tell you what rehypothecation is.
So here's the thing about central digital currency. They know everything you're doing. There is no secrets. Okay? And not only do they know what you're buying, and we will say, well, you don't really need that. Chris and I are just a little bit too heavy and we should be eating healthier. And even though we're buying something for our grandkids or regular kids, like, nope, we can't buy it. It's not healthy. You're not eating healthy. But I'm buying this as a present. Nope, doesn't matter. So they'll shut you down on that. On top of that, contrary to the Internal Revenue Service, they know and have a complete record of all your transactions. So if you're stupid enough to not put certain things you weren't doing on there, well, Chris, we noticed you bought over 1,000 pounds of flour and 1,600 pounds of butter, but you never said that you were making biscuits. What are you doing with that? Where are the sales for that? They're going to know you're screwed up, and then they're going to get you on taxes. Okay.
Right.
Then what'll happen is they'll put a lien on your home, and by the time you're done with it, you'll be in one of the 15-minute cities living free because you don't want to go to jail, or you'll rat out Craig, who's been buying biscuits from you, and then they'll look into Craig. It's a nightmare. The problem I have with the central digital currency is it violates every bit of the United States Constitution.
Yeah.
And it cannot be allowed. It's in the Constitution. You cannot make any law that violates any part of the Constitution. The minute it violates it, it is not a law.
But that's where all the money goes to get the justices that they want, who are going to support this ideology or pack the court.
And I'll be straight up frank with everybody. Any justice that does not follow the Constitution, the founding documents, is guilty of treason.
Yep.
High treason and sedition. That is the
Exactly.
bottom line. Something I think the courts are a bit screwed up right now, but they've been making some really good rulings lately. Now, I have daughters. My personal philosophy is, regardless of my religious belief, whatever you want to do with your body is your choice. You don't tell me what I can and cannot do, because there's a separation between church and state. Okay? They didn't prevent you from going out and having a procedure. They left it to the states. They did the right thing there to do that.
That's what it should have been.
It's how it should have been in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
I have a problem with them preventing people from doing it. I know why they did it, because there was one party that went a bit apeshit crazy and allowed termination up to 21 days after birth.
Oh my God.
And that was official in New York State, it was, and a couple other states. And whether you like it or not, once that biscuit comes out of the oven, it has rights.
Yes.
I'm not going to debate the inside. I mean, I don't know.
No, that's abortion. That's a whole thing.
I'm
but
not
it is.
debating it.
Oh no, I was saying for anybody that's listening, that's right. The main thing. It's not. He's not talking about whether or not. That what it is
That's what I am.
It was never supposed to have been a federal purview.
No.
This is always supposed to have been a state's issue, to where if New York felt that this was the way they wanted to go, then that's what it was. But at no point could they tell West Virginia or Florida or Kentucky or things. But if a place like California, Oregon, Washington, Minnesota, I mean, if whoever wants to approve it, that was up to the people of that state. It should never have been federally mandated, because that's against the Constitution. The Constitution is not there to tell states what they have to allow.
It's also
Other than the things that violate the Constitution. You
Right.
can't, and that's, but what this did is this found, what they call precedents, and that's where they ate around it. And that's where the whole thing is just, so what he was talking about, like I said, just one thing.
Yeah.
For people that get a confusion thing, we're not talking about whether this was right or no, this was the federal and state issue. This should always have been a state issue.
It's a
This
state
should never
issue.
have been federal.
And frankly, look, I don't really believe in going through the procedure myself, although I'm pro-choice. Okay, it's not my decision to make. You have to make that decision, especially if you're a woman, and with your husband, hopefully the father. You make that choice.
Yeah, let's get back to the Great Reset.
No,
I know, because we'll sidetrack real fast on that.
I'm not. I just want to clear up that I'm not against it, but this is the problem we have with all these things. They're dictating now. They're putting in these laws and these things into the reset that are telling you, oh, you'll have nothing and be happy. Don't tell me I'm going to be happy.
Right.
You're going to take everything we do away. They may not even let us do a podcast at this point, because the airwaves will be like, oh, no, it has to be. There's probably going to have to be something in the near future, if this goes through, where we'll have a sensor that'll be monitoring this and say, oh no, we had to kill your broadcast.
Right.
Yeah.
Brian,
Sorry.
When with the examples that all three of you presented, maybe the most prominent one is Craig's the Mincome, minimally paid to just get by.
Mm-hmm.
These ideologies are always they aren't uplifting anyone. And you see it. I'm sure Chris is very much aware of, like these clean needle programs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, hey, it sounds great. Oh, people aren't going to be passing all these communicable diseases around. Yeah, we just give you a clean needle. Well, you never get, if you're constantly being given a clean needle, are you getting off all the opioids? No. I mean,
Exactly,
the records, and you see all the people in the tent cities on the West Coast. They keep getting larger. I've seen the people, just downtown living under the bridges. I'm sure that a lot of that is related to getting started on opioids. The doctors cut them off because they realized it created addicts, and now to go to avoid having to go through the really bad withdrawals and stop, they because they can't get prescriptions anymore. They're now using heroin, and now you have to worry about it being laced with fentanyl.
Mm-hmm.
So these there's not, at the outset, something may sound like really appealing, but it really goes against human nature. It's really fantasy world ideology, and even Marx even wrote about going back to being medieval serfs.
We are becoming serfs.
Yeah.
See what you in relationship to what you're talking about with the free needles and the people homeless and people getting addicted to this. You have to understand something. Part of this great reset and the plan is to get people hooked on things, is to get the undesirables and let them kill themselves.
Yeah.
In another nation up north, run by the son of Fidel Castro, although Craig's looking a little Fidel Castro-ish right now, they
You will smoke my
they are
cigars and like it, sir.
they're advertising right now and they're putting commercials in about people like euthanasia. Euthanize yourself. Oh, terminally ill, you don't want to be here, go ahead. And they're targeting kids with it now. They don't want people that are frail or have an issue or mental case. They want you all gone. It's not a joke. There were the Georgia Guidestones that were taken out. They want 500,000 people on this planet, and that's it, and them in charge.
Yeah, and that's what I was. Your example goes back to what I was saying with that. These ideologies aren't uplifting people. It's really sad, and I just can't believe a lot. People go along with it. It's
because they're
nice.
uneducated.
Yeah,
and all this subversion started. If you take a listen to, I forgot his name, Yuri something. He was Russian. It said he detailed. No, it's not Geller. It's not the mind bending with a spoon. But there's a Russian commander at KGB and Communist Party, and said that they'll be able to take over the U.S. because they're going to start They're going to start at the education level, and that's what they've done. They've given that socialist. I mean, I had numerous teachers throughout school, as well as the hippies in the '60s. They're socialists. Okay, and matter of fact, the socialists that were there became multi-millionaires and billionaires, and now they don't want you to have what they have. But what?
It's all right when they get the money.
Right. Well, this is how it works. So as you move up the pyramid, right? So what's taking place now is they're not teaching these kids. They're saying, wouldn't it be better if you went to school, you paid $100,000, we'll forgive that debt, and then you could do some work. Maybe you'll go join the Peace Corps for a year or two. Oh yeah, that would be great. And then I get an apartment. There's a price to pay. That price to pay is your soul and your freedom. Mm-hmm. And that's what they're doing. And it started with the young. Here's another way it started. This great reset started with, we're all winners. Every kid gets a trophy. Oh, we don't keep scores here. There aren't winners or losers. We all win. No, we don't all win.
Nope.
You want to know why you lose? Because you suck. And and I'm going to be brutally honest. You sucked. And you know what the best part of losing is? Picking your ass up and doing it again and working twice as hard because you don't want to lose again.
Right.
Yep.
To my kids all the time. Well, everybody got a trophy. Like, who cares? You lost. You shouldn't get anything. Maybe you should work harder at it. That's what America was like. Now it's in the Great Reset. Everybody's going to get a trophy. Everybody's going to be in a house. Everybody's going to have a unit, a tunic.
Before we get too far in here, I want to.
Okay. I'll be quiet now.
No, you're good. No, because while we were talking about it, I wanted to bring up something because it's going. Oh man, I found an image for ants here.
I just posted something that I caught. Toyota's coming up with. I'm not big on the what do you call it engine, the electric engine. Toyota posted a hydrogen-based engine. I just posted this video. I am 100% behind that.
Oh yeah, that one I think would work pretty good.
It's great because it all it puts out is water, and what do we all need? Water. And you know what's cool about collecting the water from your car that exhausts? You already have a fuel system. It goes right back in.
I'm trying to get a bigger picture here so that people can see. But anyway, what that is, if everybody wants to zoom in real close to your thing, I'll describe it here. It's called the Complete Live System. This is one where for anybody, this is back when Obama first came into office. This was created by Ezekiel Emanuel, who was the brother of Rahm Emanuel, who was, who was the right-hand man of President Obama. This along
It's
with
funny because he's missing a finger, but go ahead.
Yeah, I think it was Govind Prasad and Alan Wertheimer were the ones that came up with this. What the system is it shows when assets are best used in somebody's life, and it shows up till I think it's the age of 16. Before 16, assets are you are not at the point to where throwing a lot of assets is worth it. So in some system like we were talking about where they're restricting this. So if you come down with a major illness when you're 12, they're not gonna throw the resources at you because you're not at an optimal age, which is between I want to say it was the age of 16 to 40. I think they said like 48.
I think it's under 45, but
somewhere so around there, and then so
that's
above
a
it,
sweet spot for them.
Yeah, so right there, because that is the production, where humans are deemed have their most productivity and most benefit to society, and that's how this.
Yeah, we know that the ladies at 40.
Yeah,
that's a different subject. Oh, we're not talking about that right now. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're not. Yeah, they're not. Yeah, so that's where we're talking about like the value. What they'll do is like in these things they present, and for anybody that doubts this, it's real easy. You can go to like this. For anybody that's like, where did you find this? This was University of Maryland. Is where this information is. All you have to do is just put the complete lives system in, and you can find all the stuff right here. None of this stuff's hidden. Everything we're talking about, this isn't a conspiracy theory. Go to the WEF, the World Economic Forum. It's right there. You can go on YouTube. You can watch the clips. I played one just a little while ago, Klaus Schwab saying, he says everything that we're talking about. The UN has these agendas out there. None of this stuff is secret. This isn't something like we've dug in and we found, some unnamed waiter who overheard this and this is what this stuff. No, this is Klaus Schwab just said this in Dubai at the 2023 convention. So
with the boiling oceans.
Yeah, and like I said, they talked and he credited how Dubai is embracing the fourth industrial revolution, that they're one of the first places to, and that's the thing.
And then you get byproduct people coming off of that. The people that go there that are all on board of it, one of which is now CEO of Twitter, have a problem with. But you get this guy that does a lot of things with Windows. I'm not going to mention his name. And in his TED Talk is talking about.
Is it how you get through a fence called a gate?
Yeah, it's kind of like that.
Yeah, there's gates on your fences so you can come in and out of your yard.
I mean, here's a guy who's talking about people reduction. Just the other day, a vice president was talking about reducing the population. Publicly stated it. We reduced the population. I mean, they're telling you what's going to happen, folks. And back in the Obama era, they bought like 70,000 brand new high-tech guillotines. Okay? And they bought millions upon millions, I think 100 or 200 million plastic caskets. What do you think they're doing with that? What do you think? We'd have a s'mores roast later?
Well, they had for the part, it's like, and it was funny when they said that in the eventuality of some pandemic or something like where they would need mass. And so, to Draylen saying about Dubai sinking, I'm not sure because they are spending, the Saudis are showing, for lack of better terms, they're showing their ass on like how much money they really have. They have trillions of dollars to spend because they're throwing billions of dollars at. I mean, they're currently under construction of building a replica of the moon. It's a scaled version, but it's going to be an actual in this city. It's going to be an actual working moon. It's going to rotate. So this. Yeah,
they can pay us for
how did I
providing
drop?
Quality information.
You muted yourself, but how did my score drop that far? I mean, you're muted there, Brian.
because you're the leader. That's what's going to happen. I'm a negative 50 at this point.
I know. I'm like, yeah. See, Chris, they're doing good. Like I said, we're getting closer. So let me get on my little soapbox about rehypothecation. Really, what that is before I forget. So it's really simple. Like we were talking about paper gold and paper silver. What these companies do is they sell you each one of us. They're going to sell us an ounce of gold. Well, the problem is they don't have those ounces. What they're selling you is they're selling you this piece of paper in the hopes that you don't turn around and cash it in saying, I want that physical gold shipped to me, because they don't have it. And you could use whatever example you'd be. A rehypothecation would be you go to a car dealership, you call them up.
Promissory note.
Yeah. Hey, I want that brand new Ford truck that just, that just rolled off the lot. I'd like, okay, yeah, hey, great, Chris, I'm going to sell you this here. Let's get all your paperwork done. You can come pick this up. Well, meanwhile, they just sold that same truck to me, Brian, and Mark. So now we have 4 people that have bought one truck. They only have one truck. So what they're doing is they're hoping that the 3 of us aren't going to want delivery on that truck yet, and that only you are going to get it. But the problem, what's going to happen is when you have something like what they're talking about, the Great Reset, people are going to panic. They're going to cash this in. And just like Fort Knox, little newsflash for anybody that doesn't pay attention, there's the gold there. It's all for show. It's not there. It's a house of cards.
That's why you got to get, that's why you need physical silver or physical gold for that. I mean,
yeah.
It's otherwise Mark and I are going to have to fight out for the Ford truck.
And be real careful with that, Ron. That's one of the things. I'll do this. Like it's real easy to say these things, but there's certain things like when you're coming into these things, don't talk about some things that you do have. You can do it in generalities that say, I have these things, but when you give specifics, because even though yes,
makes you a target,
most
you
likely
want to do that.
You already know, because what happens, like we already showed, we've been talking about all thing. 80 plus people, they're panicky. People are panicky when things happen. So if you go around, like Chris, if you tell all of us are sitting in the same community, and you tell all us, like, guys, I have 5 years worth of food down here in the cellar. I have all these supplies. I have all these things. There is not a single person, human naturally wise, that would not view you as the first person to reach out to for help. And then the problem is you as saying you've done all this planning. Well, you can't support everybody. And so now you have to be, this, you put yourself in these positions. So it's not something that inherently it's a bad thing to say it. It's just one of those things. The more you tell people the stuff that you have, the more you paint yourself as a target from the authorities, from your neighbors, from everybody else, because when things go bad, you're a lifeboat. And that's, anytime you watch a zombie movie, it's, whether you're Walking Dead, that's one of the first things they do is when people come there, it's like, hey, I don't have anything, move along. Even though you're right behind you is this huge storage full of food. Because the minute you say, I've got something, that's when the hundreds of people comes and break down your door and, tear it apart.
Right. Like in a blackout, the person that has a generator is going to get tapped first.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's that's the part that's that's crazy. But yeah, I love to hunt. Yeah, Ron's like, I dare you. Yeah, that's the thing. It's just as scary as it seemed. Brian did say there's always that silver lining in this guy right here. I'll show the picture. It's what they don't want you to think about. That's one guy. The 4 of us can easily overpower this guy.
Right.
And so they don't, everybody, you don't have to, this isn't written in stone until people just ignore it, don't do anything, and then it is. Because like I said, if they introduce the CBDCs, it truly is, we're going to have, it'll end up being another American Revolution type thing to gain freedoms back. That's the only way that it's going to end up resulting in another huge conflict worldwide.
Something that was very interesting that took place during the big event that we just went through is that there was some sort of personal one-on-one commerce taking place with individuals. There's bartering taking place. Bartering will always be around. But once you come to somebody with a piece of silver and say, look, so all I got is this coin. I don't have any more coins, but I got this. My kids need to eat. Well, first and foremost, someone's going to say, yeah, you probably do have more coins. But yeah, I'll sell you the milk and the cheese and whatever. You can go eat. And then I know Chris has coins. I know Mark Getty has 50 kilos of cocaine. I mean, I just know.
Not anymore. I left it at the White House.
Sorry.
No, you left a little baggie of your supply. That's how you do it. That's
Dear
how
Hunter.
Mark works. He goes on the tour and he drops little gift bags all over the place. And as people find him, on the back it says, "For a great time, call Mark Eddy." And so you message it. Well, Hunter's on the Rolodex right there. He calls him up for the little baggies all the time.
Just you got to be prepared with these things, and in all seriousness, if it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true. If life was easy, we'd all be living a good life.
Right.
That's the bottom line, right? I mean, you don't want the Great Reset. And frankly, if you really pay attention and use alternative sources for your information, you will see that there are people around the world that are now fighting all this. A lot of them in Europe, by the way. Oh, I know who that is. Great T-shirt, Midwest.
That was nice shirt.
Yeah. We need to start coming together as Americans. They know they're trying to divide us between black, white, pink, blue, men, women, and whatever. Firearms, no fire. Everything is a division, and the more you divide, the easier it is to conquer. It's not a joke when they say united we stand, divided we fall. We're falling.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And all these ideological people that live in this fantasy that we should let everybody in this country and it's free and this and that and whatever, when an event does happen here and we have to go and it's on like Donkey Kong, these people aren't going to be able to survive.
No.
The same people calling for none of the people that have the seconds are asked. They don't want to go to war with anybody. Let's resolve this now.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go to war with people that know what they're doing, you're done.
I don't think it'll get that. I don't think they'll ever get it done because I think there's too many patriots out there that's just not want to deal with it.
There's a lot of crazy stuff taking place right now.
I know. It's nuts.
Brian, you were talking about visiting your grandchildren.
Oh, in another state?
Yeah, and a
couple weeks, by the way.
Yeah, well, no, I was just
throwing
out the hypothetical,
right?
And then
none that I know of.
a couple weeks later, you wanted to go back, and okay, hey, if you're not really high up there on the ESG score, might not be able to go see help the family with some of the cooking and all the things that new baby changes in a house, and just connect with the baby as well. So maybe someone's going to tell you can't make that trip, and they are basing that on the emissions that you've released on getting there for the first trip. One of the things that really annoys me about all these the emissions, if you're driving a fossil fuel powered car, is how many emissions are released by the huge trucks that have to haul all the dirt from the bottom of the rare mineral pit and drive them out and dump them somewhere.
Well, it's
So
I get what you're saying. Yeah, I get what you're saying because it's funny. Yeah, that's
so
exactly
that
it.
doesn't count. Oh, because that's being done in China. Oh, that doesn't count. So, but if you're just an American, it's always targeting America. Oh, it's just a little too prosperous there. What and
That's
so that has to change, and we
Mark's
know
too
that
high.
these electronic vehicles, how well do they work in Alaska in December?
It doesn't work very well in Alaska.
This is one of those things. I'll credit this to Glenn Beck. When I was listening to the show, he was the one that came up with this. I'll regurgitate it. But you got to think about it right now. Everything that we have here, even the poorest amongst us live better than over 95% of the world's population. Because it's just how many people it doesn't matter whether South America, Africa, Asia have 3 or 4 televisions in their house, running toilets, beds, you have all this stuff that we take for granted. What is going to be easier? Let's just take some impoverished tribe in West Africa. Is it going to be easier to bring them up to our standard, or is it going to be easier to knock us down?
Mm-hmm.
To make it, just like what Mark was saying, it's going to be so much easier to lower our way of living than it will be to bring the world up to our standards.
Yeah, it's never uplifting.
And that's why people always feel like, why are we always like why are they doing this? That's why. Because if we can knock the shining beacon out, then you no longer have this, this higher standard. You're bringing more into the parity by bringing this down than going through all that effort of bringing this up.
And along the lines of what Craig is saying, to do that, in order to get rid of they need to get rid of icons. So Budweiser, they go out and put out what they did, and they destroy an icon. An American icon is Budweiser. So we don't need that anymore. And then they destroy, get Target to put out the satanic stuff for kids. We don't need that anymore. And then they do it with Gillette, toxic masculinity. We don't need that anymore. Now you have nothing in your head, your head or mind that's Americana, baseball, apple pie, hot dogs and Chevrolet. Okay.
Yeah, we're almost out of time, Ron. But yes, that is another thing coming up too. That the purported thing that there may be a shutdown, at which point there will be a reboot and reset on the web.
Right.
At which point things will be scrubbed.
And I think we're going to be doing the show via carrier pigeon. So
yeah, so it's one of those things. So yeah, so folks, that is in Three Beards world, a little abridged version of what the Great Reset is. But that's one of those things too. Everybody, I mean, I highly recommend, whether or not you agree politically or not with his positions, Glenn Beck does really good research and really thorough stuff. He has a book out on the Great Reset. I'm not getting anything for plugging this,
nope.
But just check it out, because that's one of the things too. It's like you have to set aside whether or not you agree with him politically, because that's the thing. If you can put aside these things, there are people that actually put out good work, and he is renowned for he puts massive footnotes in the beginning where he finds this information, and it's not
like 100 pages worth of footnotes in there.
Yeah, I think one of the books. Yeah, I want to say it was at least like 60, and that's the thing is he puts in there. It's not Bob's conservative blog as the resource. He'll get
real,
New York Times. It'll be you'll have these ultra liberal sites that are the resources, and he's putting right there. I mean, that's just like I said with the Great Reset. And they have it right there. That's not a secret. This isn't some kooky conservative blog that we're finding this information from. I mean, the head of the World Economic Forum on YouTube telling you everything we just said.
Right,
And Brian, do you still have the clock?
I do have the clock, and I have that. And what I'm going to do, Ron, is I'm actually going to give it to the Chris, because behind his wall, when he's on, it's blank. So I'm going to have him hang it up there, so we all see the clock.
And Ron carefully worded that, by the way. He double checked it before he hit send.
Do I have the cock? Yeah, I still have a cock too.
Yeah, to make sure that he included the L.
Yeah. And on top of what Craig was saying about the Glenn Beck, I actually shared it with them. I didn't know if they saw it or not, but it's actually worth watching. It's about an hour, I think it is, or something like that. And he even says it, and I'm going to say this to you now too. When you get to books like this, when you get the important things that are talking about history and what's taking place, do not get them in electronic format. They can edit and delete that. Okay, you need to get yourself a hardcover bound copy. This is the same reason where I've been looking for. There you go. I have been looking for a copy of any encyclopedia prior to 1954, because after 1954 or 56 it was, they made the Antarctica Accord. In those encyclopedias, they're going to talk about Antarctica, and they're going to tell you what's actually there in these encyclopedias. After the Accord, it was all stripped out. So if you find something from 1954 down, go look up the Antarctica and see what they tell you there, and look at the maps they have provided them as well. That's why you need the physical copy. So buy a book.
Yeah, that's just it, because that was one thing he did talk about all the time. Is because anything digital, you don't actually physically own that. So if they shut down the internet, you can't access it because it's stored in the cloud. Everything's stored in the cloud. You don't actually own the cloud. So all your photos, everything you've stored in there, you don't own it.
Right.
You muted yourself again.
I said it's upsetting that way, that we have to think this way.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But this is the Brian. You just mentioned something about history, but yeah, this is all part of the Nazi legacy. And how about RFK Jr. being censored at a censorship hearing earlier this week? And but it's too offensive to teach the Nazi philosophy in schools. So maybe by the time you graduate from high school, you might learn. The Nazis kind of did some bad stuff. I don't know exactly what, but you're allowing a resurgence of that philosophy.
Yep. And we can't let that happen.
Yeah, and we're seeing it now. A medical state that I don't know, is based on seems like some of the ideas that Dr. Mengele was utilizing.
Yep. I mean, it definitely seems like it. And it's crazy. I'm actually going to share the link to that Glenn Beck. That's all right with you guys. I'll put it in chat for.
Oh, okay, you're doing that. I was getting ready to. So.
Yeah, well, I just want to. I mean, I'm just going to.
It's awesome.
Okay, you got it. Yeah, I was just in the process of sharing it too. So yeah, you beat me to it.
It's great. I just was looking for it while we were looking. You really should watch this. I mean, really, no matter your political, this is not. It's not one side versus the other. This is not whether you're Democrat or Republican. It's just, it is what it is. Watch it. It's all information. Sometimes you have to hear things that you're not liking in order to get enlightened and get it. We can agree.
Sounds like somebody's having an argument in the background.
Yep.
Well, I think most people would be not supportive of Nazi ideology, but they are still supporting it because they don't know really weren't taught anything about it.
Well, they're not. That's the problem. They're not educating people anymore. You used
Yeah.
to be able to. You used to learn about American history. They don't do it. You used to learn about civics. Don't do it.
Yeah, we know the zoom in for classes for 2 years created.
My daughter's distraught from that. It's screwed her so royally. It's beyond belief.
To all these test scores have really plummeted from 2019 to 2023. Whatever scores have become available.
The social aspect alone with kids is gone. There's still people. Look, your choice. Do whatever you want. Still people wearing masks. Still kids separate. No, don't come too close. And the whole thing in school was vaccinated versus unvaccinated. That was a huge thing. Well, you can't come to my party. You're not vaccinated. How messed up is that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
And
by design, like you said, it's all by design. Separation.
Yeah, and well, it's you had the president talking about this is a pandemic of the unvaccinated. Well, he was vaxxed what 3 times by the time he got it. So how effective was?
Oh, I'm not going to go into that because
I know.
Be shut down immediately.
I know.
Oh,
we're gonna go with it.
Sorry about that.
No. You'd be shut down. But what you were saying about Nazi Germany, if you look at what took place in Nazi Germany, which led up to people getting into boxcars and then being murdered, the Night of Broken Glass is one of them. Those are all the rallies. Well, not even rallies. The things that took place a couple of years ago with burning, murdering, and looting all over the place, and that's the same thing as the Night of Broken Glass. Yep. I mean, the correlations, if you looked at what took place and you listed them, boom, Nazi Germany, boom, 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 like you just started, well, these people are dirty. We can't have them. Let's put them in a camp. These people, let's take their weapons, put them in a camp. I mean, it's the same thing. Oh, you didn't take your, so you're not allowed to go to work. It's literally, I was saying to numerous people, history is repeating itself right now. Mm-hmm. And then the fact that they removed all these statues, all the Civil War statues are not to glorify the South and what they were doing there, it wasn't about slavery. It was so you have a visual representation of like why we should not be doing this ever again.
Well, I think Jefferson had a
many
painting.
Children with many slaves.
No. He was having had a painting in Monticello of Napoleon, and Jefferson was the American foreign minister to France during Napoleon's rise to power. Jefferson became a Francophile, but the tour guide at Monticello told the tour group that Jefferson really didn't like Napoleon. He had the painting more for a reminder of what he had become in pursuit of power, all the insanity that followed the French Revolution. That was a lesson that Jefferson wanted people to know about his time.
Well, one of the greatest quotes from Jefferson is, "A little revolution is good now and then."
Yep.
Well, he has it in the Declaration of Independence too. You know, change the
That
government.
that garbage.
I'm drinking this, Laura. I'm drinking this healthy drink right here. This is healthy beverage, Pepsi Zero Sugar.
Do you want to know why you shouldn't be drinking a Pepsi-based product?
Absolutely not. Do not ruin this for me, sir.
Are you a
I'm in my I'm in my willful bliss right now. So just
are you a follower of the law of God not to be a cannibal?
Tasty.
They use
Yes.
HEK. Heck.
Yeah, it's
don't take Pepsi products.
it's
You can do
probably in
whatever you want.
everything.
You can
It's
do
probably
whatever
in everything, honestly.
It's not in this cowboy.
I'm really sure that this nearly 2-hour discussion is
It's a long
probably
show.
getting us really low ESG scores.
I just put up the latest ones and they suck.
Yeah.
I'm already in a FEMA camp at this point.
Yeah, he's already getting.
Yeah. I'm in a FEMA camp.
There's a good chance.
Like Charlie Robinson probably has about the all-time worst scores, but that's why I like him so much.
Well, we're gonna update our FEMA scores right now, and Mark, you have just dipped below 50.
Yeah. So that's
Here's
that's
the latest FEMA camp
about the Pepsi. We're a cannibal for what we know. Exactly. Don't ruin it. I am gonna red pill this one.
Sorry, Jaylene. So right now the scores for the FEMA camp are Greg has a 40. I'm told to report to FEMA camp A. Chris is 75 right now. He's doing good, and Mark, you just dripped to 40. So
yeah,
I'm afraid if I talk, I'm gonna get myself in trouble.
Yeah, it's no. Go for it, man.
I actually just did a show on the Nazis, the Third Reich and the occult.
Oh, they were big into that.
Yeah.
Dude, with all the show banners and stuff I make between Into the Outer Realms and our show, if you actually looked at my gallery of saved photos, you would somebody could make the case that I'm a neo-Nazi. I have so many Nazi photos and stuff.
Show them your shaved head, Craig. Show them your shaved
head.
Oh
no, it's not shaved head right now. No, I gotta get rid of this mop. It's it's one of those things. It'd be like, take it out of context. If you see all the photos I have saved, you're
He's
like,
a
what?
freaking Nazi.
And I'm like, okay, well, here, let me show you the thing. I had to do one for when we did a show on, talking about Auschwitz and the Nazi. I'm just like, you go through the thing. It's like, I got to have the photos. I mean, to do the.
But do you remember the end of the Twilight Zone episode, Death's Head Revisited, where the prison guard goes back to Dachau?
I think so.
He's mentally tortured by the ghosts of his victims, and at the conclusion, Rod talks about we should never tear down the Auschwitz and Dachau's. We have to leave them as memorials. Yeah, that's where the dumbasses from the 2 year or a year of looting and burning of the cities without wearing masks, but that's okay when you can do that in close quarters and throw Molotov cocktails and bricks and that kind of stuff. But see, they just, that was what they were told to do. And I think Ron had the right idea, and like with the Jefferson example, is don't forget the history, and I don't think we should forget how what a bunch of dumbasses those rioters were a couple of summers ago.
Well, it's
I mean, see, like right here, this is proof. See,
Mostly
see,
peaceful protesters. Well,
see this,
you know,
see that one right there,
we're
the
doing
flag
that
right in the center.
tonight.
See that one right there in the center? That's one that keeps moving. Yeah, see, I had to download all those pictures to make that. So it's like,
oh my God.
so yeah, so if you see all those things I created, so I've got everything from Unit 731 to Auschwitz, Nazi flags, not SS officers, all this stuff on my phone.
You know,
Yeah.
Craig, I did not see that coming.
Anybody get the joke? Come on, everybody. No, I know it's been a long one. We got to wrap this up. So anyway, let's start with Chris. Man, plug your show. Thanks for coming on. I know I feel like we've, kept you, made you stay quiet, but I think you also did it on purpose too.
Yeah, I don't want to get your channel in trouble.
Are you kidding? We're going to do that on our own.
Right. You can catch me on Country Boy Conversation on YouTube. I don't have another show until the 5th of August because I'm trying to study for my ham technician class. So.
There you go.
I'm taking a little break so I can get that done. Thanks to Ryan, I got to talk to a real nice guy today.
Nomar's a great guy, and he's going to hook you up.
Yes,
so.
he is.
Yeah.
He's also the first person I met from, besides you and Al, they're really nice from New York.
Oh, I could be an asshole, but I tend not to be. I'm trying to be, a nice guy.
Well, I've been to New York, up there, they just don't talk to you. Like, you say hi, it's like, get the hell away from me, crazy.
What the hell you want from me?
That's right.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah, I hope he's going to be doing a great show, and it's a really important show. So it's going to be talking about, ham radio, and really need to pay attention to that show because we're getting to a point where you may need one of those Bowfangs and ham radio. Yep. You're going to need
it. To that thing, that's one of those things. It's done for the pictures, for the show, for education. Like I said, it's not for love of the topic. So that's the thing. That's why they're on there. So, but
really, it's not for love of the topic.
And the best part, like people say, well, did you just delete them? Well, that's the problem. Is all these photos get scrubbed off the web. And so when you find these things, a lot of times you have to keep these things set aside so that way you can actually reuse them. Because when you go back to try to find them, they're gone.
Your Honor, Exhibit A for Mr. Stencils.
Yeah, for his crucifixion,
Yes.
Yeah, but no, it's
not to use this before, Mr. Ansel. I swear to God.
Oh no, I'm not.
No,
I'm not mistaking your comment. No, I was just explaining it again. It's like I promise. It's for educational purposes only.
Right.
So no, it was not a mistake of your comment. But no. So then we got the gentleman in the bottom square, Mark. Eddie, man behind Nightlight. What you got coming up, sir?
Someone good at some point soon.
If you're talking about real quick, if you're talking about Auschwitz, I think it's one of those things. A lot of them, it's a really important thing because it's one of those you keep it and you keep it up, and like you said, you visit it because it's one of those things.
It's very important
by keeping it in your mind. Yeah, you don't repeat it.
They
that's
don't.
The thing. If you forget about it, you're going to repeat it.
The people that are Jewish people always look to that to remember never again, and they use that as a battle cry, just as anybody else should use as a battle cry. The problem is a lot of the structures are crumbling, and they're falling apart. And once this happens, I mean, right now the current trend is when you see some of these pictures from World War II. People say, "Oh, that's photoshopped," and that's a problem because I don't think there's anybody. I think there's one person left, or a handful that were alive during then, that could attest to it. It's not being real. I mean, can attest that it is real. So that's a big problem.
and that's then there's the latest social media trend where all these people are taking selfies and stuff at a place like Auschwitz, it's terrible.
Yeah, it's just
Doing the poses like, oh my God, look at me, and you're like you're standing on the grave. Yeah,
by the ovens. Yeah, it's kind of like when you see someone has passed away on Facebook and having a like button. I'm like, can we have like a I'm so sorry button instead?
It's even hard, when all you got is cry or care. I mean, that doesn't even really sum up a lot of the times. It's like I care about it, but it's it also seems like you're like, oh, I just lost a loved one. Oh, that's so amazing. Like, here's a hug. Yeah, they need to have some other options. But what you got coming up on your shows, guys? Real quick before we go.
Mark, what do you got?
I'm doing a Mothman panel show on August 22nd, and I'm trying to fill in some other dates, but the Mothman panel with Steve Ward and the Kousalises and maybe someone, Brian Seach, should be a really good one. We're trying to promote the Mothman Festival in mid-September.
Cool. That's awesome.
Awesome, yeah. I just had Brian on. He's a real nice guy.
Oh yeah, he really is a very nice person. He and his wife are very nice people, and they're very knowledgeable.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got Arlen Andrews coming up next week.
That'll be a good one.
So that'll be a good one. So
I may or may not be in on the full because I'm driving back.
He'll be finally coming back to the land of Florida.
The land of milk and honey. They don't call it Florida.
Orange juice and gators, sir.
And meth addicts. But actually, thank you to Mark. But I will be on Penny Shepherd show tomorrow from 12 midnight to 1 Eastern. I have no idea what we're talking about.
It should be noon. Should be noon to 1 p.m. tomorrow.
Thanks for watching.
I don't know if she's doing live or not, but from what she said, I'm going to be possibly live. So I think it's from 12 to 1 in the morning.
Lori, that he's in NYC. He will be in NC here. So.
Yes. Now that you said that, I got to go text her and find out. And then also I'll be on the Three Beards podcast coming up every Wednesday.
Yes, every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Thanks for following, everybody.
Yes.
Go follow Barbara DeLong's channel right there so you can see the Nightlight episodes as those come out. Country Boy Conversations there on YouTube. Go support them. Keep going ahead. Keep following. I said it just, as everything, guys, just like every night, Jaylene, everybody else, bring a friend on the next episode. Bring a friend, share it with somebody, just bring somebody, like I said, help it grow, because when we talk about certain things like this, they tend to not share it out. Like even Mark noticed it wasn't really showing up on Facebook. So I had to share it a couple of times.
Oh, this show ain't going to be going out to too many places.
No. So it's going to rely on individuals or yourself sharing it to people, so that way people can see it, because it's not going to be done, organically, if you like using that term. Which I really don't. So everybody, thank you for watching. Appreciate it. Go support everybody. Go support Sir Brian M. Bowden on his endeavors into the Goblin universe. Yep. Like I said, go support him. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, we didn't really get to that. We'll have to talk about that little Mitch McConnell freezing up.
That's because his clone froze up. Okay, let's go.
I know. All right. So ESG score just dropped again for him.
Yep.
Yeah. We might see him get carted off to the re-education camp live on air here, people.
I must killed the queen. Sorry.
Yeah. That's one of those things. It's just it. Yeah, that'll be another show for another. That'll be another episode for another. I said we've got next one we have open. We'll talk about that thing too. So it's kind of nice when we have these cancellations. We can discuss some of these things impromptu. So, all right, everybody. Have a good night. We will see you on the next show with Arlen Andrews, and appreciate everyone. Like I said, Mark, Chris, thank you guys so much. Chris, I hope you enjoyed this side of the camera with the beard. So that's.
Well, he's got a beard, so he's good.
Yeah, that's right. So, all right, everybody, have a good night. We'll see you later. Good night.